you've got 20 minutes, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Can everyone see my slides okay?
Yep, we can see that okay. Yes, thank you.
Great. Just bear with me a second. I can't see everyone else, but never mind, that should be fine.
I'll keep an eye on the chat and the people, so yeah.
Okay. So yeah, hi everyone. My name's Jack Killingray. I work for GamCare Yorkshire and Humber. So those of you who aren't aware, GamCare is a national gambling support charity. We've been up and running since about 1997. In Yorkshire and Humber, we've been around since about 2019, which was originally Leeds and then more regional about 2.5 years ago. So yeah, in terms of what we do, just to give you some sort of impact around gambling across the UK at the moment. So there's about 13.1% of adults in Great Britain are impacted by some form of gambling. That might not be just gambling themselves, but it could also be potentially they might be an affected other as well. So as a service, we don't just work with gamblers, but we'll work with anyone who's impacted or affected by a loved one, a friend, a family member's gambling as well. So you can make a referral as a professional. We take self-referrals. There's several different avenues you can refer through as well, which I will go on to discuss a bit later on. So 6.8 million, that's about that 13.1% equates to adults are affected by some form of gambling harms. Just a little quote here. I won't read it out, but I'll let you have a second to read through it. That's from Tony Kelly, who's been impacted by gambling in his life. And it just goes to show the importance that services have in terms of sort of addressing it. A lot of what we do is raising awareness, trying to sort of dispel the stigma around gambling as well. As an addiction, although it does have lots of similarities to drugs and alcohol, it's a very hidden addiction. It's sort of known as the hidden addiction as well. And it's, as you can imagine, it's very easy to hide from family members, friends, loved ones. It doesn't have any sort of, you can't tell when someone's gambling. There's no physical side effects or physical symptoms that people will see when someone's gambling. So it can be a huge concern. Just some more statistics here. So about 44% of people experience problem gambling. So that's the PGSI, is the Problem Gambling Severity Index, and it's what we use to score people's sort of gambling or an affected other. Experience high levels of suicides. We do have high levels of suicide with gambling, as you can imagine. A hidden addiction. People often don't admit that anything's going on, don't seek support, don't speak to anyone. The impact of that sometimes can be suicide, sometimes can be losing a big asset, a house, a car, things like that as well. That can be a huge impact. So yeah. So about 5 million people have reported gambling debt. Over sort of 5 billion in gambling debt has been reported since January 2025. You compare that the whole of 2024, which shows you how significant it is. The problem is growing. 17% of affected others at high risk of suicide, which we've spoken about. Again, it's not just the gambler themselves. People are impacted as well. It has a huge impact. And 16.2 million of people are affected by someone else's gambling, and it's 4.74 million children. You can imagine with any addiction, the knock-on effect. It's usually between about 6 and 10 people, one person's gambling impacts. That's why it's important as a service that we'll work with not just the gambler, but we'll work with anyone who's impacted by it as well. So in terms of having those initial conversation with the gambler, I suppose it's how to start the conversation. So it's about language, expressing concern, acknowledging the difficulty. So expressing concern might be, I'm wondering how gambling has been affecting you. Is it something you'd like to talk about? Acknowledging difficulty could be, I know this is really easy. I know this isn't easy to talk about, but I'm here to listen. I'm not to judge. Those sort of conversations. Then offering support. Might be, I want to understand what it's like for you. Would you feel comfortable sharing? In terms of the language as well, the do's and don'ts. So it's about asking open questions, making sure it's obviously they're aware that it's confidential, in a confidential space if at all possible. Being empathetic, be patient. Change does take time. Some of the don'ts: don't focus on the losses or the money, or the shame or the blame. Those are the sort of things. It's more about looking at the individual and starting to make changes. And one of the questions we use on assessments like that is the top one, which is, have you been affected by your own gambling or the gambling of a loved one? I mean, that's a really good question to cover all bases. You could also use, I hear you and understand it isn't easy to talk about. Are you aware that free support is now available? Or would you like to refer for support? I think it is extremely hard to get people to open up and admit they've got a gambling problem and seek support. So half the battle is often finding out that person is experiencing gambling harms and wants to, and then it's trying to get them to admit that it is an issue with them, and that they would like support in the first place. And sometimes it's just about chipping away. If you're working with that individual, maybe just asking them each week how they are. Sometimes asking them if you don't think they're going to openly admit it, maybe talking to them about, is there someone else around you who gambles? Have you got family members, friends? And then they might start talking about it in the third person as if it's someone else, but actually it's themselves. Some of the partnerships we already have working in Leeds. So we've got a really good relationship with Leeds Beckett University, the Financial Hardship Fund. So this has been set up for, I want to say, it's got to be a good 18 months now. So students at Leeds Beckett University, when they reach out for hardship, when they've spent all their student loan, they present to the financial hardship team, and they'll look at 3 months of bank statements, and they will categorise that person as low, medium, and high, depending on how many gambling transactions that they've got on there, the level of gambling. And then they will make a suggestion. That person will then refer themselves to GamCare. So they'll usually release the first part of the payment, and then before the second part of the payment is released, they will ask them to come and see ourselves, and we will see them for 3 sessions. And one of our team is very much, she does a lot of work with the students, and it's working really, really well. We're seeing a lot of students, it's a growing concern with students across the country anyway, gambling. We see a lot of students coming through, and it's good because it's getting them, I suppose, speaking to those students early on as well, making them aware around of their gambling and how harmful it can be. Really, we do still get a lot of them coming through going, I don't think it's a real concern, but by the end of the sessions, there's an understanding there that their level of gambling is, can be very destructive. We're also working with we have a similar incentive with York St John University and Leeds Trinity as well. Very similar stuff coming through, but Leeds Beckett is by far the one who we see the most amount of referrals come from. We're also working with Trussell, so Armley and Bramley food banks within Leeds as well, and we offer regular drop-ins there to speak to people about the gambling. We sort of speak to staff about it as well. We work closely with Epic Restart Foundation, which is a recovery service, so they support people when they've been through their gambling support and they want to rebuild their lives. Epic Restart's a great service in terms of they offer stuff all around the country. They repay travel and everything as well. So again, if you come across anyone who's has gambled but said it's in the past and they're interested in some sort of getting involved with and helping, or just reaching out, making friends, rebuilding their lives, whatever it might be, then Epic can be really good for that. And then Lincoln Leeds as well. We've just started to do a piece of work with Lincoln Leeds in terms of we'd really like to get across all the social prescribers in Leeds and make them aware of our service and how you can refer in as well, because gambling is now on the NICE guidelines and has been for some time, recognising that it's a harm. So I think it's really important. And we do a lot of work with Forward Leeds as well. And Forward Leeds, we're in partnership talks with them around. We do a lot of delivering training to a lot of their staff. They've got a gambling question on their assessment forms as well. So it's early stages, but yeah, we're working closely with those guys as well. And then in terms of some of the resources we offer, so we've got our website, so you can go onto our local website or you can go onto our national website, and on there we have forums and chat rooms as well. So if people don't feel ready to access support, but they'd like to speak to someone who's in a sort of similar sort of situation to themselves, they can go on our GamCare website, get involved with the forums, or speak to someone in one of the chat rooms. Again, it can be a good way of just sort of easing themselves in, or thinking about it, realising that maybe their gambling is a bit more of a concern than they initially thought. So that's great. We've also got the National Gambling Helpline. If you've seen any sort of gambling advertisement on the TV or on social media, things like that, you'll often see an 0808 number in the bottom, and that is our 24-hour helpline as well. So that's fantastic. You could, if it's more localised, you could ring our duty line, which we do have the duty line, which we'll share at the end, which is our Leeds number, which is 9 to 5, which myself and my team, they monitor that as well, and we'll pick up direct referrals through that. Or you can email us as well. But yeah, if you go onto the Yorkshire Humber, GamCare Yorkshire Humber website, there's a really easy assessment process there, which takes a few minutes to refer in, whether it's, like I said, a self-referral or you're doing it as a professional. And we're also offer training as well in conjunction with the Women's Pathway. Like I said, we're doing a lot of that with Forward Leeds at the moment. We're training like 260 of their staff, which we do, which is an accredited training package as well that we offer. And then we do lots of leaflets as well. So my team in particular, we're the outreach and engagement team, and we do a lot of awareness raising. One of the big pieces of work we've just done is freshers, university freshers. We've just been around majority of the Leeds universities and colleges, and then some of the other regional ones as well, some of the sort of wider spread colleges and universities. We're only a small team. There's only me and 3 of my colleagues, and there's only 3 of us actually doing it this year as well. And we've seen about 1,750 students. We also offered a student survey to try and get a bit more insight into student gambling behaviours and support, and that's been really successful. We've doubled the numbers we saw last year. A lot of that is brief interventions, and what else is really, really good is we're starting to see more referrals come through off the back of the work we've done, the awareness raising at freshers. That's fantastic as well. One of our big successes in terms of leaflet wise, like I said, we do have lots of leaflets we can offer and we can drop off. But one of the new incentives we've got at the moment is like a business card leaflet, and I'll show you one now. So on one side, you've got the QR code there where people can scan and it takes you straight to our website. So we've also got our email on there. Obviously, apologies, that is the South one, but it's exactly the same as that. It just says Yorkshire Humber. And yeah, it's got our localized duty number on there. And the flip side, it's just got 4 really simple questions. I think one of which I already shared is about have you bet more than you can really afford? Then it's asking if you've been affected by it or your gambling's been criticised. Have you been affected by someone's gambling? Do you feel guilty about the way you gamble? And they're really good, just really simple, discreet cards that we can offer to people and say, look, if you haven't seen yes to any of these, reach out for support, scan the QR, get in touch. Everything we offer is completely confidential. And they have been really effective at freshers as well in giving them out. People don't want to take a big leaflet, and these are just got discreet things people can put in their pocket and have a think about. So just in terms of some up-to-date news that I've just wanted to share, I was looking for something that we could really was quite impactful. And I think one of the things that sort of resonates certainly with me at the moment is the adult gaming centres. I mean, particularly in Leeds and in a lot of the sort of big cities, seems to be a lot more of the adult arcades or the adult gaming centres or the AGCs, sorry. And this report was just showing about the expansion of the 24-hour gambling centres, and it just talks about, they're often popping up in poor areas. And I mean, a great example is if you go out and go into Doncaster city centre and see how many gambling betting shops they've got and how many adult gaming centres they've got as well. They're open 24/7, which is really scary. I think there was a BBC Radio 4 report that they did some undercover stuff. I think they said on average a gaming centre can take up to £32,000 per machine. Some of these shops have got 30, 40 machines in there, so it sort of gives you an indication of how much revenue these people are making. There doesn't seem to be any sort of much regulation around these at the moment as well, in terms of people can exclude from them, but they don't seem to be very good at. It's meant to exclude everyone within a mile radius, but it doesn't seem very effective, or seems to be working at the moment as well. So yeah, just a bit of up to date what's happening in terms of adult gaming centres as well. If you do want to refer, like I said, this is just a direct link to our referral there, just gamcare.org.uk/Yorkshire Humber. Easy, like I said, easy to refer. We are 18+ at the moment. But yeah, absolutely. But if you are working with young people, you can ring the helpline and get advice that way as well. So yeah, certainly. In terms of what our client journey looks like, so we will see someone. If someone gets in touch, we'll usually get back in touch with them within 24 to 48 hours. We'll do an assessment. We'll hopefully get them to see that client within 5 working days. It's usually less than 5 working days. We say a bit longer sometimes, depending on if it's a Thursday or Friday, but usually within 5 working days, we'll get that client booked in for their first appointment. They will stay with us sort of 6 to 8 sessions, but it might be longer if needs be, and they're making headway and they're working on their recovery. And then, like I said, at point of discharge, we work with lots of recovery services. We work with Epic, and we look at other aftercare services as well. Reframe as well as another aftercare service we work with that we refer into. But we're very much an open door service. Like I said, people can refer in, and we do have a lot of success with people coming into our service. We've also got something going on at them which is called Talk Ban Stop. So that's ourselves, GamStop and GamBan. So GamStop and GamBan are blocking software. GamStop is blocking software for you as an individual. You can stay in there between 6 months, a year, and I think 5 years. And I think they've just changed it so you can do a rollover after 5 years, and it's like now called a lifetime ban, and it'll just keep rolling over. Brilliant service, completely free. GamBan is blocking software for up to 15 different devices. Used to be paid for, but now through our website, through the National Gambling Helpline, you can get a free code. You can get that put on as well. These are sort of the first protocols we'd say to people if they're gambling and it's online. These are great first protocol in terms of making changes. Some of the things might be as well is to put blocks on your bank as well. So nearly all high street banks will now offer blocks on there as well. I think some of these banks now offer it as it's on there to start with when you set up the bank, and you actually have to physically take them off if you want to use that account to gamble. So these are really, really good. Some of the things you'll see on there as well is Sense, and the one that says for betting shops, that's Moses. That's a multi-operator self-exclusion. That's now run by GamStop, and that's self-exclusion for betting shops. Sense is self-exclusion from casinos. You can self-exclude from pretty much anything these days. And I mean, there is effective. They are effective. They're getting more and more effective all the time. They're not a complete ban, unfortunately, and they're not a complete block, because it does come down to the individual. People do find ways around this if they want to, but if people are in the right place and they don't want to make changes, they are very effective. Then there's the support groups on there as well as our service. There is Gamblers Anonymous, which runs in Leeds, and there's Gamanon for affected others as well, which is support groups, and they can be really, really effective for people as well. And then there's just a few of my details and the service details, the duty number there, how you refer in, my email if anyone wants to get in touch. Like I said, we do offer, so currently across Leeds, we're offering drop-ins. We do a lot of service presentations similar to this. We can tailor them as well in terms of if you've got staff and you want us to come into your service and deliver something and raise awareness. And there's all sorts of stuff we'll do, really. I mean, like I said, drop-ins, service presentations, awareness stalls. We're just keen to get out there and speak to people, really, and so people know how to refer into service and how so people can get support, really. Anyone have any questions?
Thanks, Jack. Great. Comment from Lucy in the chat as well about Men's Health Unlocked. We've also been focusing on gambling this year as well, the last couple of years as well. Yeah.
We've been working quite closely with Men's Health Unlocked. Yeah.
Good to hear. If anyone's got a question, do put your hand up. I had a question, just a sort of general question to start with. You mentioned that the amount of gambling debts so far this year is sort of double what it was last year. Is there any research that sort of is to shed any light on why that is specifically in this past year? I know things are difficult, but I'm not sure they've been more difficult in the last year than they have been in previous years.
Yeah.
Or perhaps that.
Yeah. No. One of my colleagues, it's one of my colleagues' slides actually, and I just got it. She's only put it together recently, and I have just before I came online, I did ask her to share where she found that piece of research from.
Right.
So as soon as I've got it, I will share it. But yeah, I know that it's definitely rising concern with students. We seem to see more and more each year. I mean, we had an event earlier on this year where it's the first time we'd ever done it, and we had an event where we saw more student gamblers than non-gamblers, which we'd never had an event before.
Right. It feels like there's an emerging cause to be going into sixth formers to talk to them, which presumably is when gambling harms are starting rather than by the time anyway. Yeah.
Go on.
Dean.
Thanks, Camilla. Thanks for that, Jack. My name is Dean Matheson. I'm one of the directors of Calm and Centred. We're a mental health crisis prevention organisation based in Chappertown, Leeds. Yeah. I also sit on the Hatch Local Care Partnership Executive Board as well. Jack, just interested really, just quickly really, you mentioned GamBan and GamStop for banning and stopping. Just wondering just how effective self-exclusion really is, because my experience and understanding of those who have an issue is it's pretty much an addiction, and that's great news that some people are able to self-exclude, I'm just wondering what the current trends are. Is that something that's improving all the time?
Yeah.
And how that's encouraged really for somebody who's addicted?
So GamStop in particular, we work quite closely with GamStop, and they do they often share how many people they've had signed up over the years, and more and more people signing up all the time and staying on there for longer periods of time as well. They are really effective, like I said, but equally as it says in the name, it's a self-exclusion. So there is ways around it. There is lots of, I'm sure people have seen it advertised. If you do spend any time on social media or you get adverts pop up, sometimes they say, this is not on GamStop. So a lot of websites will often say, now not on GamStop. And they're usually websites that are abroad, things like that, which is much harder to manage. As you can imagine, they're changing all the time. They change the URL slightly, and that website can change easily. But GamStop, one of the things they do is constantly trying to make changes and trying to add services to their sort of repertoire of places they can ban. They're really effective. The people we speak to about it who use it said they have been really useful and really effective. And it's particularly, like we said, we won't just use one. If it's online gambling, we'll say use a few. Put GamStop in place, put Gamban in place, but also look at your banking as well. And then I think those sort of things in conjunction with the treatment as well, can be really effective.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm glad it's having some effect. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Trish.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Trish. You right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yeah,
I was just
good.
wondering if you have any sort of insights into, for a Leeds point of view, what the demographics are in terms of people who are most likely accessing sort of support from gang care. Is a gender split, an age split, any particular ethnic minorities, or is it just absolutely across the board?
I think generally with gambling, as it is, there is, in terms of people who are actually gambling, I think there's a real split, it's a real mishmash. But in terms of actual people accessing support, we still get predominantly more white males. We still get a lot more males accessing support, a lot more males reaching out who need it. But we know that there's definitely, I was in a gambling harms meeting this morning, and there was a gentleman there. Were you in the meeting this morning, Trish? I can't remember now. You were, weren't you? No, you're not. No, the gambling harms. But that was there was a gentleman there, Mr. Hale, who's done lots of really good work in the South Asian community, and he was saying that it's a real issue in the South Asian community, but it's getting people to access support. There's a real struggle that we find. So and it's something we're trying to do constantly, is trying to work with some of the South Asian communities, the Romani communities, any of those sort of places, trying to get in there and offer support and try and create referral pathways as well. Definitely.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you. I had another question. Sorry, I do like asking questions. You had a really good slide early on about how you can start a conversation about it. But I was wondering, what was the you suggesting that people that are working one-to-one with clients ask everybody, or who would they ask, and what would be the initial sort of signs that somebody would it be because they were talking about money anyway, or would it because they were displaying other physical, mental health issues, or
if you've got an assessment, I would say absolutely put a gambling question in there, and we're more than happy to get in touch with me and we can share a question. I would love it to be on every sort of assessment
standard
where people have got any sort of mental health standard. Absolutely, it would be fantastic, because then it's prompting people to ask them. But I think it's not just having the question on there; it's making sure staff know what to do if they do answer the question. Because if staff aren't trained or don't really know anything about it, then it's very all good and well for them to say, yeah, actually I do have a problem with gambling, or I'm spending a lot of money, and then just go, okay, but not really know what to do with that information. But I would say it's incredibly hard to recognise it. I think it's just sort of being aware of, like I said, any sort of debt there, any of the reasons that the reasons they're in debt. I mean, drug and alcohol use often go hand in hand with it. Loan shark, well, I'm sure Trish is going to go on to talk about the loan shark stuff as well, but significant debt definitely can be an indication. It's really, really hard, but it can be linked to so many different things. If there's any sort of financial issue there, definitely it's definitely worth, it's worth asking without a doubt. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Great. Okay, so unless we've got any other questions, I'm gonna move on. So thanks very much to Jack from GamCare for his presentation. So going to pass on to Chelsea Taylor now from Inspire North Stop Smoking.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Sorry about that. Sorry, Jack, to throw you in at the deep end there. Just bear with me 1 second.
Yeah, we can see that. Okay.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not aware, so Leeds Stop Smoking Service has got two branches to the organisation. So Reed have one pathway of the service, who they've been commissioned for quite a few years now, but Inspire North partnership of the service started in around April of this year. So we're a relatively new service. So we're doing lots of networking and going to meetings to kind of get ourselves out there and kind of linking with different organisations to let people know who we are and what we're doing. So our part of the Leeds Stop Smoking Service is we specialise in supporting people with long-term health conditions and mental health issues as well. So common mental health problems such as anxiety and depression. So we support people 18 plus living in Leeds. And how are our support, apart from the mental health and physical health issues, differs to Reed, is that we offer a little bit longer of support to people, because we obviously recognise that if people are living with long-term health conditions or mental health issues or both, then they more than likely do need a little bit longer of support. So we offer between 8 and 12 sessions, where I think Reed at the moment are only offering 6. So as I say, the difference between us is Reed is anybody who's smoking can access that service. So just to let you know about that. So why is it needed? So again, as people are probably quite aware, smoking is a key factor in health inequalities between the most and least deprived areas of Leeds. Research shows that 28.9% of adults with long-term mental health conditions smoke, compared to 11.1% of the regional average. So again, that sort of highlights that people with mental health conditions do use smoking, as we know, as more of a coping mechanism, because I think lots of people who have had mental health issues for a while and have used smoking as a way of coping think that smoking actually aids, those mental health problems, when actually what we know is that they do actually exacerbate those conditions and can make things more problematic for people. So we're still trying to do a lot of education around that, because again, if someone's been smoking for a long time and it has been that coping mechanism for them, it's quite tricky to kind of educate them around the risks around smoking and how it can make symptoms of mental health worse. And try and have those conversations around, if you were to stop smoking, what you might find actually is that you become less anxious and your mood does actually start to lift. So we do have lots of research around that. And smokers with mental health issues twice as likely to suffer cardiovascular and respiratory disease. So again, that's why we're here, and that's why we're focused and commissioned to support this cohort of clients. Just a little bit of information really around how quickly things can start to get better once a person stops smoking. So this is a really useful tool and handout that we've got in GP surgeries, lots of different community settings for people to just kind of pick up and have a look at. Because to be honest, before I came into post, this was all new information to me. So this really highlights how quickly, if a person is to stop smoking or even reduce smoking, how things can get better. So what we offer for people is, it's very informative. We can go to lots of different settings and team meetings, but our kind of what we're trying to do at the moment is get out into local communities, harder to reach communities, and give people more information around this and actually the benefits of stopping smoking. So we're trying to get ourselves linked in with as many community projects and services as we can. And this is really interesting as well in terms of money. So the average smoker can save around £49 a week by quitting. So that's over £2,500 a year. So when we're kind of supporting people and talking to people around this, we do talk around, I've had conversations with a client around having a piggy bank. So that money that he used to smoke on cigarettes, putting it in that piggy bank, and he's now stopped smoking for nearly 6 weeks, and he's saved quite a lot of money. So actually having that physical evidence that, you know, this is how much I'm saving is a really, really good motivator for people. So yeah, it can take as little as 6 weeks to start feeling the mental health benefits of stopping smoking. You'll look better because more oxygen is getting to your skin. And that client that I'm supporting is a really good example. So I think he's 76, stopped smoking for 6 weeks, and he really does look like a different person. And his family has picked up on that as well. So again, it just highlights the change and how quickly things can get better for people. So yeah, as I was saying before, we offer so everyone gets their own stop smoking advisor. So that person is with you from the start to the end of your journey, and we offer 8 to 12 weeks of support, face-to-face sessions, as much as we possibly can, because what we also offer is CO2 readings. So we have a CO2 monitor which reports on the levels of CO2 in someone's system. So once they stop smoking, that can come down quite quickly. So again, it's a really good motivational tool. So hence why we want to be seeing people face to face to do that. But, you know, we have had to be quite flexible because, as I said, some people are generally very unwell. So what's really beneficial for us is we can offer home visits to those clients who physically can't access a clinic, or if their mental health is not great, then we can go and see them in their own home environment. And I think that's helped people feel a lot more comfortable being able to have those conversations in their own setting and environment. We offer the free nicotine replacement therapy, so that's things like patches, chewing gum, inhalators. We offer lozenges, and we do also offer vapes as well, which I'm presuming there'll be some questions on vapes as well. But you know, we have to remember that vapes were first brought into for the Swap to Stop scheme, and so we do have a vape as an alternative nicotine replacement therapy for people. Signposting to other activities and other schemes within those communities. So we work very closely with Lincoln Leeds. You know, we get quite a lot of referrals from them. And at the moment, we are seeing an increase from GP surgeries as well, which is great. So we can work closely with GPs and surgeries to help people within those communities and GP settings stop smoking. So I will move on to vaping, but please, if there are questions, because I'm sure there will be at the end. But this is more around vape myths, sorry, and just the message from us at the moment. I will let people read this for themselves because it's quite wordy, but the message from us at the moment is what we do know is that vaping is better than smoking. So hence why we use a vape as one of our, you know, one of our tools to help people stop smoking. And also there's still ongoing research being done around vapes at the moment. So we don't know enough about what the risks are, if there are any, but what we do know is that it's better than smoking. And as I said, that's why vapes were first introduced in the first place, to substitute and help people who wanted to stop smoking. And I think, sort of from my experience and some of the team as well, for a lot of people, it is that hand to mouth action that they miss more than the actual nicotine and the addiction to that. It's the habit that people often talk about. So vapes can really help with that. And with our vapes as well, what we can do is reduce people down onto different strengths of liquid. So we don't want to be keeping someone on a really high you know, nicotine liquid for a long time. We want to try and reduce them, and lots of people have used that as a way of stopping smoking, reducing down off the strengths of the vape liquids, and then continue to stop smoking as well. So this is our client journey. So we get referrals from lots of different organisations, as we're saying, GP practices, third sector organisations, self-referrals, and that can be done online, which I'll show you at the end. It's a really simple form that people can fill out. We do have lots of leaflets all around Leeds at the moment, and you can scan the QR code, which takes you direct to our referral form. You will then, within 2 days of making that referral, so that initial contact, have a further contact phone call from our admin worker, who will just take a few more details, and then we hope to get an initial assessment booked in within the next 7 days. And then what we do as well is kind of preparing people for that quit date. So albeit we are an abrupt quit service, we want people to achieve a quit date as quickly as possible and work with them to get to that date. But we also have a quit prep session as well. So that might be within the first 2 weeks, working with people to cut down and really look at their smoking patterns, so that, you know, change is possible and they can see where they can start making changes to their routine. And then we set the quit date. And I think that works really well, because once people have that date in mind, they're more likely to stick to it. They've got their one-to-one worker supporting them the whole way through, weekly contact, check-ins through text messages or telephone calls. And we are having some really good success stories at the moment. And then the support sessions as well. So we look at the NRT, how they want to continue on that journey with the products. If they do, not everyone wants the products. Some people just want to have that advisor where they can check in with them every week, keep that motivation high, and keep the confidence high as well. And as I say, they can be either 8 or 12 sessions, depending on the person's need and depending on how confident they feel and what else is going on for them. You know, it's our job to really kind of look at the everything that's around that person. So looking at their relationships, looking at their lifestyle, working, things like that. So we'll look at the bigger picture, because we've had referrals where people have come in, really want to stop smoking, but will say, well, my partner smokes and they're not ready to stop. So that could be a real barrier for somebody. So we need to really think about with them how they're going to achieve this and successfully quit. These are the current areas at the moment where we have clinics. So as I said, we're in GP surgeries, we're in leisure centres, we're in libraries, and community hubs. So these might change. Obviously, we're into month 6 at the moment. And I think the areas of Leeds where we're seeing the most referrals at the moment are Seacroft and the south of the city. So that's where we're getting the most of our referrals. And as I say, we might change where we do our drop-ins, and it's wherever there's a need, really. But we are at the moment, as we're trying to establish ourselves, we're trying to be everywhere. Yeah, so just going back to the drop-ins, so we've got regular drop-ins across the city, Gipton Fire Station, Pure Gym, lots of different organisations that are quite happy for us to come have a drop-in within their settings, just to create conversations and awareness, really, to people so people know who we are, how to refer, and more often than not, we'll take the CO2 monitor with us, which is always a good conversation starter, and people are quite keen to do that, to kind of get a reading of where their CO2 is. We also offer peer support sessions as well. So this is a relatively new incentive that we've got going, but we have a weekly in-person peer support session at the Thackeray Museum, and that's for people who've gone through our programme, so have gone on the journey with one of the advisors, managed to achieve stop smoking, and then want to be there for other people as well who might have just started the programme, because we know that peer-on-peer support is really invaluable. We are also going to be having an online meeting as well, because because of the cohort of clients that we're supporting, who again might not be very well or can't access coming to a face-to-face support session, we are offering an online session as well. So I think that's due to start the middle of November, but I can send some information around that and updates for you. In addition to that as well, we are looking for peer mentor volunteers, so recruiting volunteers to become a peer mentor to support people with their quitting journey. So becoming a champion, if you like, to raise awareness in local communities. So again, it could be someone that's worked with one of our advisors, they've got to the quit and they're achieving continued abstinence, but they want to come and be part of our volunteer programme to promote that to other people who might want to stop smoking as well. This is just some snippets of feedback that we've had from clients. Again, I'll let them I'll let you read them for yourselves, but I think what people are finding the most beneficial is the behavioural support that we offer. So having a one-to-one support worker that's with you from right at the beginning of the journey all the way through, regular checking in, doing a lot of that motivational work and relapse prevention so that people feel really confident that they can achieve this. I think especially for those people that have been smoking for 20, 30 years, they've tried it once, you know, they will often hear, I can't do it, I've tried before, I'm not able to do it. So we really look at, well, what is it going to be different this time and how can we work with you to achieve that? So I think that behavioural support is really key to help people on the journey of quitting. And we've got some social media as well, so Instagram, Facebook, and the Facebook peer support group as well, which is a closed group, but people can tap into that for that peer sort of one, you know, peer on peer support. And then for referring somebody in, so we've got the website, which is Leeds Stop Smoking Inspire North. We've got the QR code and all the leaflets that are dotted around different community settings within Leeds. It's just our telephone number and email. And we are on the System 1 as well. We're on the Healthy Living template as well. So people who are accessing System 1 or using that system can refer to us directly through there as well. Thank you. Are there any questions or anything?
So what happens when well, you were saying about can I ask a question, is that right?
Yeah, of course.
You said that there were face-to-face sessions. Where are those where do those take place, the face-to-face sessions? Are they across Leeds? Are they close to people's homes or?
Yeah, so we've got, if we just look at here then, so we've got Seacroft Community Hub, so they're either in community hubs or community settings like the Reginald Centre or at GP surgeries. We're in some libraries as well, and a couple of the what am I trying to say, leisure centres. So all community settings based and some GP practices. And then we go out and see people in their own home as well, if needed. And if people, because we do appreciate as well that, again, if people can't come every week, we might do one face-to-face 1 week and then do a telephone call, but that regular weekly contact is consistent, whether it's face-to-face or over the phone, dependent on what the client wants. But ideally, from our perspective, we want to be seeing people every week face-to-face if possible.
Okay, so when people phone, they get booked into an appointment at one of those places it's convenient for them. Is that what happens?
Yeah, so it's closest to where they live. So yeah, Rachel will look at which advisors in their area, which hubs available or which settings available, and then just book them in for an assessment that's closest to their property. Sorry, I should have said that.
That's right. And I also wanted to ask a little bit more about, you said that it was for people with long-term conditions and mental health, including mental health, I think you said.
Yeah.
Is that long-term? Is that long-term conditions in the widest sense of the word?
So it's long-term health conditions.
Cardiovascular or
Yeah, so physical health condition. So that could be long-term physical health conditions. That could be anything. It could be cancer, cardiovascular, lung problems,
arthritis.
Yes,
Yep.
and any
Yep.
long-term health conditions at
Yep.
all. We've got you know, osteoporosis. We've got lots of people who are generally quite unwell,
Yeah.
or have long-term health conditions. And then in terms of the mental health, it's the more common mental health issues. So things like depression and anxiety. But we can link people in with other mental health services if needed. And sometimes as well, some of the clients that we're supporting are already with, you know, CMHT or other mental health organisation. So it's just about bringing all of that support together and working with other agencies to provide the best support.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Chetna's got a hand up, although that might be to ask the question that I just asked.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Camilla. Hi, Chelsea.
Hello.
Hi, my name's Chetna. I work in the health communities and primary care team in Leeds City Council. So I lead on Bermondsey, Richmond Hill and Hare Hills. And we've been doing some work around the health needs, assets and assessment around those two areas, and have found that we've got high rates of smoking, as you mentioned. So that we're really keen to work with yourselves. I've got some meetings planned ahead to do that work. Yeah, Chelsea. Yep. So I guess my question was really about promotion and how do you promote, because you mentioned that in the south you've got a higher rate in terms of people uptaking the services. So I just wondered how you do that in Bermondsey, Richmond Hill and this patch really.
Yeah, so any wellbeing events that are coming up, we will attend those as well. And we've done, I think Liz covers that area, so she might be able to chip in here as one of our advisors. But we're really open to do any drop-ins at any setting really that you would find beneficial. Hence why us having a meeting would be really helpful. But wherever you feel there's a need, we're happy to come. We've got banners and stalls. We've been to other areas of the city and just done a bit of an open door session really, where people can come and have a chat with us. We will, you know, quite happily go and speak to members of the community, and I think it really is just that awareness of you know, not so much the risks of smoking but the benefits of stopping. I think that's really key, and just kind of having those conversations with partnerships. So we've just done, I'm aware this isn't your area, but we've just done all of the universities as well. And we're going to have more drop-ins here at the Reginald Centre. So having a store where people can just come in and talk to some of the advisors, including staff as well. So it's for anyone to come and speak to us really.
Great. Chelsea, I don't know if you've been able to, from my perspective in general practice, the people that you want to be reaching are the practice nurses and the clinical support workers who are doing annual reviews with patients who have long-term conditions. So there are, I'm sure you've had, I probably haven't read them all the POMs you put out, but yeah, there are certain bulletins and stuff that we could get you into maybe to reach those people from a general practice perspective. Great. Thank you. Thanks
you very much.
Any more questions for Chelsea before we move on to Trish? No, great. Okay, thanks, Chelsea. Okay, we're now going to hear from Trish. Sorry, I'm getting my mixed up. Trish Cassidy at Stop Loan Sharks. So we've Trish, you've been kind enough to come to one of our Hatch meetings before, but we know it's very much a sort of live issue in our area, so it's good for us to be extra aware of it. So over to you.
Super. Thank you very, very much for letting me steal some of your time, and apologies if it is things that you've heard before, but very much, as you say, still a relevant issue, particularly at the moment. I mean, I'd be interested how many people have put their heating on in the last few weeks. You know, we're all trying to put that off and prolong it, but for many people, you know, there just isn't the money there for that. And where there are loan shark debts at play, then very much that's going to be a real concern. So just as a bit of a reminder, when we're talking about the word loan shark, we are talking about anybody who lends money in the course of a trade or business without permission from the Financial Conduct Authority. So that sounds like a very wordy thing to say, but essentially we are not necessarily looking at physically violent male thugs who are, 15 stone of pure muscle. We have loan sharks operating in Leeds who are female. The eldest loan shark we prosecuted last year was 86 years old. But the thing that all loan sharks have in common is A, greed, and B, the people who they are lending money to are having just an awful time of it. They tend to be vulnerable people. Over 50% of the victims who we support each year have either a physical or a mental health need. So they are already at a disadvantage. And then once they've borrowed from that loan shark, the implications usually are quite apparent. As a reminder, the team that I work for, Stop Loan Sharks, is another term that we use. Officially, we are the England Illegal Money Lending Team. I do have a Birmingham email address, but as you can probably gather from my voice, I am definitely not a Brummie. I live in Wakefield and I cover all of Leeds. But within our team, we have our own financial investigators, we have our own investigators and our own seconded police officers. So there are so many challenges to somebody getting support on this particular subject. One is them knowing that they are even a victim of a loan shark, that person who they're repaying is a loan shark, and using that word or associating that word loan shark with them and their situation. We know that's one of the key challenges. And when people do realise that they are in debt with a loan shark, they are usually terrified. They're very scared that the loan shark's going to find out it's them, that the police will come to their house, that they'll have to go to court. All of these things that are absolutely making their mental health even worse, and all of these barriers from them getting some support. We are a trading standards unit. I'm a trading standards officer. I am not the police. And more importantly, I am just Trish. So my job is to speak to and help and support anybody anywhere in Leeds who has borrowed from a loan shark. And that support is really practical, as well as emotional support. My first challenge when I speak to a victim is to do a risk assessment. So to understand what risk are they under and what can I do to mitigate that risk. And again, that's really practical things. So actually, are you at high risk of violence? Do we need to have you moved? Do I need to put you into one of our safe houses? So really practical things. Is it actually that you need a police marker on your property? So if there's a call to your address of a disturbance, there'd automatically be a police response sent. I also look then at what are their general needs. So at that stage, it could be, and usually is for my victims in Leeds, that they're getting in touch because this morning they've just had their benefits all got paid and all of their money is now gone because the loan shark has taken it. And they now have a full month with nothing to live on. So it's about those real practical support there. So actually, can I issue them a food parcel? Can I put them in touch with the local food pantry? Can I top up their gas and electric meters? Is it that they've got health concerns themselves? Do they need some support with that? Do they want me to literally go with them to a GP? Are they accessing the crisis team? There's often multiple things going on with that individual. My role as a liaison officer is again about raising awareness. So people still don't know who Stop Loan Sharks are or the illegal money lending team. They don't know where to go for support. When victims do eventually come across and get in touch and find me within Leeds, there are certain organisations that they will have had touch points with, and health is usually always there in some capacity. So they will have been to a GP. I've had victims who have told their GPs that they owe money to a loan shark, or other health professions, because that's a safe space. Nobody's going to be listening into that conversation. They're usually quite sure that the local health provider isn't somebody who's going to know that loan shark, whereas with lots of community settings, they are frightful of having people's eyes and ears looking out and listening. So if they were to, for instance, approach my stand at a community event, they'd be worried that other people would find out. And there is an absolute spectrum of loan sharks. It's estimated that 2% of the population are currently using a loan shark, which equates to 16,000 people in Leeds. And there are no two loan sharks that look the same. So there is still the community lender operating on most of the estates, particularly in the more deprived areas, offering to help people out. And it tends to be people who have been recommended from family or friends. So somebody who's been short of money before has borrowed from them and has put a friend in touch saying, if you're a bit short, these people can help you out. We also have loan sharks who are targeting schools, food banks, down the pub, in the club, and attracting new customers in a whole range of those spaces. But that befriending approach is very much still there. We see loan sharks operating in various business forms. So some who are just pretending to be a legitimate financial institution, maybe even promoting themselves we've got a case in the post office who advertises, or putting up flyers and leaflets in the local area. We also have ex-agents who used to work for legitimate companies such as Provident, Shopper Check and Greenwoods. Those organisations are no longer regulated to lend. They lost their licence from the FCA, but we have had examples of ex-agents still knocking on the same doors and offering loans out of their own pocket. There are loan sharks operating online in various forms, and again, the opportunities for somebody to stumble across this person who is offering to help them out with money are all too apparent. So we've had loan sharks using chat rooms in gambling websites and dating websites. Particularly concerned for different ethnic minority groups when we come to the online approach, because we have usually quite large WhatsApp groups or Facebook Messenger groups where somebody has something in common with other people in that group, and that can feel like it's a safe space. So again, somebody to say, does anybody know where there's a room to rent or a cheap car for sale or a job? And often there will be somebody saying, does anybody know anywhere I can get a loan in those groups? Only for somebody within the group to put them in touch with a loan shark. We do have loan sharks that are linked to serious organised crime and gangs. We are increasingly seeing links between loan sharks and drug dealing as well. Where the loan shark is linked to organised crime and gangs, the victims are usually viewed as a commodity. So if that victim cannot afford to repay the amounts that the loan shark is looking for, then the loan shark will have other ways of them making money. So that could be growing or selling drugs, collecting debts on their behalf, and we've had victims forced into prostitution and human trafficking as well. So in those scenarios, that fear is likely to be much more substantial. Another type of loan shark that we see is workplace lending, which might seem quite trivial, but in actual fact, if somebody's boss is lending money to multiple people at their place of work and asking them to repay back more than was borrowed, the impact for the victim is still very real. So we have victims who are worried that they will lose their job, have had their hours cut, or scared about other people at work finding out. And if you think for a second that if it was one of your patients who owed money in these different types of scenarios, what language and words that victim would use or that patient would use. They're probably not going to say the word loan shark. They may talk about, yeah, I owe money to a friend, I owe money to one of the mums at school, I owe money to my boss or a colleague or somebody in my area. They tend to not use that word loan shark to describe that situation. When we talk about the impacts of for victims, which we'll look at in a second, this slide here, I think, tells you quite clearly why they are experiencing those health impacts, particularly on their mental health. These are just a few examples of the different types of threat, control, and coercion that victims experienced last year. And as you can see, they are quite personal. It's not always about physical violence. It's often a controlling psychological impact. So the idea of what that loan shark could do to that victim is what keeps them caught in that perpetual loop of borrowing from that loan shark and repaying again. From the people we supported last year, we had both loan sharks and victims from every walk of life, with the eldest person borrowing last year being 91 years old and the youngest being 19. Half of the people we supported went without food or fuel because they just didn't have the money to be able to buy their food or to top up their meters, given the fact that the loan shark was taking so much of their money. 60% will also owe money to legal forms of creditors as well, so potentially behind in their rent or their mortgage and maxing out any other sorts of regulated credit loans, credit cards, overdrafts. 90% of the people that we helped last year said that they were in a constant state of stress, anxiety, or depression. And just under a third had been abused, harmed, or threatened in some way, resulting in 40% seriously contemplating suicide. We are increasingly seeing people borrowing from loan sharks to buy food and to top up meters as well, and that's quite a terrifying prospect. So 20% last year, the reason they borrowed from that loan shark in the first place was to buy food or fuel. And again, arguably, people are in a worse financial state this winter than they were last winter. But equally, it can affect anybody from any walk of life. So just over a third of our victims had household incomes of over £30,000, and 13% were actually homeowners, not renters. So it's, as I say, a crime that can affect people of every walk of life. And those impacts are far beyond just their finances. So yes, they are likely to be quite skint, really, and struggling for money and with money. They're also quite likely to present with poor physical or mental health. And that situation is likely to have fed into other areas of their life. So relationship breakdown, maybe being cut off from family or friends, excluding themselves. We've had children who have been impacted directly and indirectly, as well as people who have been sacked from work because their performance is been bad, because they're not able to concentrate or focus on the tasks at hand, and increased strain on local services. So increased levels of antisocial behaviour, increased dependency on things like food support. In Leeds at the moment, as I say, it's estimated that we are talking about 16,000 residents, most of whom probably have no idea that I exist or what help looks like. We currently have several ongoing investigations. An investigation is where we have specific information about a named suspect, and we are trying to build enough evidence to be able to prosecute and stop that. Separate to that, we have over 100 incidents in Leeds, and that's where we have a small bit of information, but not enough for us to be able to start putting the pieces together and and seeking a warrant. So any little bits of information, any clients or victims who are willing to have a chat really can make a massive difference, being able to put an end to that situation. So I've talked a bit about the support that I can offer from that risk and needs assessment, and from the safety perspective. We do also have a 24-hour hotline, so I'm on call this week, literally at 3 o'clock in the morning, if somebody rings because they are feeling scared, worried, concerned, then it will be a human that will answer that phone. And sometimes that's just a voice that will help them. We also have a live chat option, so people can access some advice and support anonymously in those situations. There is an exemption that allows you to share information about loan sharks. So if you are aware of any or have suspicions of any loan shark activities, that information can be shared without consent due to Data Protection Act 2018. Our Stop Loan Sharks phone number and email address are on screen now, as well as a new WhatsApp service. But essentially anybody can get in touch with me at any point, so that can be an email or a phone call, and I typically will be able to get back to any victim or professional within 24 hours. And my ask of you is, I'm conscious that you must attend these sessions and everybody's got an ask. Please consider this, keep this in mind. But where somebody is owing money to a loan shark, we really need to look at maximising all the opportunities for professionals to be able to touch on that, because that could be the only real conversation that anybody's ever had with them about that particular subject. I have a whole range of leaflets and posters. Again, I've got the small business cards similar to Jack, looking at waiting rooms and areas, or where are there spaces within the health world of being able to put those resources out so that somebody can understand that there is help available. We also have a range of social media campaigns, and we can write content for any sort of event, newsletters, websites, anything along those lines. And finally, I do have a shark mascot. So Glenda the Lender, not sure if any of you have met her. She's pretty smelly, but she can be a good opportunity to get people talking, really. And that is me.
Thanks, Trish. That was a really powerful presentation, and yeah, the attention to detail that you're, the level that you're involved is fantastic. Any questions for Trish about her presentation? Trish, if there was one thing that you wanted us to go away and do differently, what would it be?
Just ask people about their financial situation. I get it's not an easy conversation to start. I don't expect everybody to say, oh, do you want money to a loan shark? But particularly where there are opportunities, so people who are feeling stressed, anxious, reports of mental health concerns, saying, have you got any money worries? It can be more general, because that can help then, direct people to other types of advice service, Money Buddies, Citizens Advice, all those sorts of things. But saying, is there anybody else you owe that's not a regulated debt, like a friend or somebody in your area? As I say, just giving people that opportunity, and also just making any colleagues aware that I do deliver training. It's all free. It can be done in less than an hour, because the more people we have looking out for this and knowing the signs to ask, the better.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give you some idea, I've been covering Leeds now for 4 years. I have never had a single referral from anybody in health.
Right.
So that's quite a sad statistic, really. And I think maybe shows that there's potentially more that can be done.
Absolutely. And we were hearing from Jack earlier about that he'd like to see a sort of standard question in any sort of formal assessment process. I'm guessing there would be quite a similar, probably one question actually that could sort of start to unpack those conversations for whether it's gambling harms or harms from loan sharks, isn't it? Just asking about if you've got any money worries. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Chetna got a question.
Yeah, Trish, I just wondered, have you done the Want to Know More session that Public Health Resource Centre, they run like training sessions for workforce, for wider workforce, and they get lots of people attending those from different organisations. I just wondered if that might be a way to promote what you do in your team, and could even maybe get GamCare there as well, kind of looking at kind of financial inclusion and support.
That'd
Do you
be
think
great.
Yeah.
I'd be totally up for that. I've not come across them at all. I do have contacts at the Public Health Resource Centre, and lots of our stock are there, which I regularly top up, but I've never done anything with the sessions, didn't know it was a thing. So if you could share some information on that, Chetna, I'd be really pleased. Yeah.
Will do, Trish, because it is a really good opportunity to link into that wider workforce. So let me find out who I can speak to, and I'll get back to you, Trish.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're on mute.
Yeah. I've just realised that. Yeah, done quite well. I've got nearly to the end of the meeting without doing that. If anyone's got any more questions for Trish, no, thanks. Thank you very much, Trish. That was really informative. Going to hand on to Courtney Jackson, who wanted to give us an update on NHS health checks. We are running a little bit ahead of time, so if there's anybody else after Courtney's finished, if there's anybody else that wants to give a bit of an update from their workplace or organisation, we have got a couple of minutes at the end for that. Just stick your hand up. Sorry, Courtney, over to you.
No, don't worry. It wasn't really an update, Camilla. It was more of an ask, really. So, we've previously done an NHS Health Check update on specifically around the community testing programme that we're holding within VHR and Chapeltown, and we do have clinics still running within those areas. So what I'll do is I'll send some information out to be sent on the follow-up of the eligibility criteria, and there's also a number for VHR and a QR code to scan for Chapeltown. So if you do come across, Joe, any of your clients or Joe, any of yourself in this room that feel that you would benefit from a health check, Joe, feel free to utilise that service. So I will send some more information on that. And then the second ask was, been doing some work with a practice, and I was wondering, they said that the most spoken language in that practice was Somalian. And I was wondering if there was anybody in this room or knows anybody that speaks that language that would potentially be able to volunteer for the NHS health checks. It doesn't have to be now. It could be a go away and email me, but I just thought I'd reach out to this forum first. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Courtney. A couple of queries there. Mamta.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to mention it, Courtney, that it would be good if you can get in touch with Ritas. They sort of deal with the migrant community in relation to employment and training, and they may have a volunteer
And what was
working
that
for
called?
them.
Sorry, Mamta.
Ritas.
Maybe you could type it in the chat, Mamta.
Okay, I will
Yeah.
send a link.
Yeah, that's great. I'll reach out to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Hazel.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm just trying to think where I've read today about a Somalian support organisation. So there is one place that's really good to find things like that is the refugee Leeds Refugee Forum. They've got a communities partners page, and it has masses of different groups that are running from different migrant areas.
Perfect. That's really, really useful. Thank you.
This is the place to come, Courtney.
It
Great.
is, exactly.
Thank you. Has anybody else got any questions for any of our speakers today, or is there anybody else that would like to give an update on their organisation or any projects that they've got on the go? Now's your opportunity. Otherwise, we will. I'll just do my little finish off bit while people think about that. Bushra. Oh no, that's Push coming into the meeting for some reason. I thought she was putting a hand up. But Perajita, hello.
Hi there. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, hi. So it's from the integrated coaching service from Thrive at Work. We had already done a presentation, I think, initially.
Yeah.
And we are very much up and running. Received 140 referrals till now, so quite popular. So I'll just put the link there. So anybody who is wanting to self-refer, it's mainly for the professionals. So it's not for NHS patients, but it's for professionals.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to self-refer, so it's all there. You please do so. Just all the leaflets are out there, all the different services in it, like integrated coaching service, mental health service, VIVOP, OT, everything is there. So whoever wants help in terms of like professionals wanting some, So yeah, absolutely.
Thank
so
you.
just please feel free
You're
to
going
do so.
Oh yeah, there we are. You put it in the chat. Yes. Yeah, and I can speak well of that service. I've got a couple of staff who've accessed some various services through that as well. It's been very well received. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So our next meeting is going to be on the 18th of November, 3 till 4:30 as usual, and we're going to have a focus on domestic violence and abuse, which is something that we cover every year. So this will be our annual update from that, and so please keep an eye out for the details. It should be coming around on your email. But I'll just end by saying thanks very much for everyone attending, and particularly to our speakers, Chelsea, Jack and Trish, and see you next time. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Camilla.
Thank you.
Bye.